Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and a few people have kind of asked me where they think they should start when it comes to starting a retro collection from scratch. And I've always mentioned a lot of obscure systems, like, systems that I like the Sega Saturn or the Sega Dreamcast. But I realized that those systems aren't always the most accessible, and they're so uncommon that it might be harder for people in general to find games for those systems because they weren't as well adopted here in North America as a system like the Super Nintendo. And so I felt like it would be good for me to just do what I think my dream Super Nintendo starter kit would be if I had to get a Super Nintendo and I had enough to buy 10 games. So I kind of just wanted to go through with you here 10 games that I think would make a great Super Nintendo starter kit. So the first game being Super Mario World. So I remember when I first got a Super Nintendo, Super Mario World had so many levels, there was so much variety and so much depth to this game that it had me hooked for hours. I played this game thoroughly, and to be honest with you, I don't know if I've ever actually beaten Super Mario World. I know I've gotten really far, and I played this as a kid, then I picked it up again in my early teen years, and then I think I even picked it up again like as an adult, but I don't know if I've ever actually completed it. And if I did, it probably would have been in my early teen years. That would have been the time that I beat it, because I do remember facing off against Bowser, but again, I can't remember if I beat it or not. So if you've beaten this game, let me know down in the comments. But Super Mario World is definitely one that's been in and out of my collection for a long time, and I was actually glad when I got it back into my collection because it is a classic, top-notch game. So Super Mario World is definitely one I would recommend. Another game that I would recommend is Super Mario All-Stars, just because if you don't want to spend the money on getting like a Nintendo Entertainment System, which is the system that came out right before the Super Nintendo, Super Mario All-Stars will give you an opportunity to play all of the Super Mario Brothers games along with a few others. So this is a great way to just get a bunch of games in one, and I'm all about those compilation cartridges that give you like 3 to 5 games all on one cart, because it's a lot of bang for buck. So, and this cartridge is not that expensive at all. Same thing with Super Mario World. Both of these you can find for under 20 bucks, and you get a great value. So definitely would recommend you starting your collection off with these two. And I know it's super cliche, Super Nintendo, Super Mario World, but there's a reason why these are some of the best-selling games. It's because they provide a lot of fun and a lot of entertainment. All right, now we're gonna start getting into some more niche games that are really more so up my alley. One of those being Final Fight. So I've always been a huge fan of the beat 'em up series, of the beat 'em up genre rather, and the Final Fight series has definitely been one that I thoroughly enjoy. Final Fight is an amazing beat 'em up game. It's a flagship game. It's probably one of the most iconic beat 'em ups, right up there with games like Streets of Rage 2 and Battletoads, and just a lot of notorious beat 'em ups. This is another one that I definitely would recommend because, again, this is another cheap game. You could probably find Final Fight for less than 15 bucks. So super cheap, you get a lot of bang for buck. The only sucky part about Final Fight is that it is one player. But again, you do get a lot of fun with this one, and this is one of those beat 'em up games that you just enjoy even watching someone play, just because the variety of the stages, the enemies, the difficulty is pretty solid on this. It's not too easy, but it's not too hard. So definitely recommend Final Fight. Another one that's not super expensive, but it's slowly creeping up. I don't know why. But Mega Man X, the original Mega Man X, and I know I've beaten Mega Man X. I've beat this game a few times actually, but I don't know if when I beat it, I found like all of the power-ups. Because you have like with Mega Man X games, you're pretty much just building your arsenal, right? Every time you beat a boss, you absorb his power. You also find different energy tanks so that you can max out your energy tanks. You also find different power-ups that give you different abilities to do like air dashes and things like that. So Mega Man X was just like a really fun game with all the bosses, the ice stages, the underwater stages, the aerial stages. There's just so much variety in this game that I think you'll wind up really spending a lot of time playing this one. And the thing I like about Mega Man X, especially for its time, it had a unique save feature where you were able to save like your progress by putting in like a weird combination, basically like a save code. And I always liked the way Mega Man X built in their save states. You were able to save by putting in a code, and I thought that was so unique, because back in the day of the Super Nintendo, there were no like memory cards or anything like that. So if there wasn't a save feature on the game, there's really no way for you to save your progress. Like, there's no save feature in Final Fight. Like, if you lose, if you turn the game off, you have to start from scratch every time with Final Fight. So I love that about Mega Man X, and I think this is just a colorful, beautiful game. This one isn't super expensive, but it'll probably run you around $30 these days. Mega Man X is a good one. I definitely recommend that one. So we got a lot of variety, right? We got action platformers, beat 'em up. This one's more of like a run and gun platformer. This one's a little bit more unique. So this is Actrazer. Actrazer is a very well balanced game, and I remember my brother playing this game. This was like a platforming hack and slash game. You play as like a knight with this, broad sword. You're going through different levels, and Actrazer 1, as cool as it was, Actrazer 2 looks so much better. The graphics on Actrazer 2, I have that one as well, but Actrazer 1 is a really fun game. I want to say Actrazer 1 is right around the price of Mega Man X. I think this one is roughly around like 30, maybe 40 bucks. But this is a really cool action platforming, like hack and slash style game that has just some unique enemies, some unique levels. The character sprites are really cool in this one. And this one's just really nostalgic for me. So this would have to be in my top 10 list of games to really start off a SNES collection with. Here we have another compilation cartridge, which is even better than the All-Stars, because with this one you get 8 games in one. So you know me, I'm all about maximizing the dollar. Kirby Superstar is a really, really fun one. You'll get, like I said, a lot of action in this one, a lot of gameplay out of this one. And just with all the different Kirby games in here, ranging from Nintendo Entertainment System games to Super Nintendo games, this is just a really great way to experience the Kirby trilogy and experience all the Kirby lore. This one is a little bit more pricey, so you're gonna have to pay up for this one. This one's roughly around 50 bucks. But again, I mean, if you're thinking about 8 games in one, 50 divided by 8, what's the math on that? Somebody help me out. What's my math? Put it down in the comments. Let me know where my math is on that. That's what you're paying for each game. So definitely one that I would recommend if you're into the Kirby, or even if you've just always been interested in Kirby but you don't want to go out and buy all the games. This is a great way to experience Kirby. Okay, I could not have a Super Nintendo starter kit without including Super Castlevania IV, right? So this one is a must-have and a must-play for anyone starting off their Super Nintendo collection. Castlevania is a video game series that has defined an entire genre. It's one half of the Metroidvania genre, and you're gonna see what the other half is here in a moment. A little cliffhanger for you there, but yeah, Super Castlevania IV is a really great installment in the Castlevania series. I think we only got two Castlevania games on the Sega Genesis, Dracula X and Super Castlevania IV. And while in my opinion Dracula X has the better music and the better graphics, Super Castlevania IV actually has the better gameplay. The thing I don't like about Dracula X is that every jump is dedicated. So if you jump in a direction, that's it. You cannot change course midair. It's over for you. The other thing I didn't really like about it is that you can only wield your whip in one direction, whereas in Super Castlevania IV you can kind of do all 8 directions, right? Up, down, left, right, and then you could go diagonal in all 4 directions. So that 8 directional movement with the whip definitely offers you more flexibility in terms of how you navigate the levels and attack enemies. So I'm a huge fan of Super Castlevania IV. I think this one is a great one. Next up, again, you cannot have a Dream Super Nintendo collection without including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. Now, I know I said Final Fight is an iconic beat 'em up, but Turtles in Time is right up there with it in terms of beat 'em ups. And the thing about Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time is that it has more depth and it's a little more dynamic in the gameplay. For one, you're able to choose from one of 4 characters. each all having very similar fighting styles, but the weapons that you have offer different ranges of attack, right? If you're using Leonardo, you have a longer range of attack. Also, I like the different grabs that you have here. You can do different types of grab moves. Obviously, you can grab the enemy and slam them from side to side, also dealing damage to other enemies that are in the way. You can grab the enemy and just straight throw them off the screen. So all those different move sets that you get with the turtles was really great. I also like that you get the pizza that gives you like this 10-second infinite spin that just knocks out enemies all over the place. You know, the levels are a little more dynamic when you think about the water stages where you're having to jump over things. And then there's just like this comical edge to Turtles in Time that just makes you laugh. Some of just the animations are really cool, and the sprite work is amazing. And of course, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so that's super nostalgic. So I think if you're someone looking to get physical hardware and just get back in the game, Turtles in Time is definitely going to be a great one for you. My recommendation, pick that one up. Okay, and now we're going to look at the other half of the Metroid, of what created the Metroid genre, and that is Super Metroid. So this is like a must-have. This has to be a part of every Super Nintendo collector's dream startup kit, right? There's so much I could say about Super Metroid. It quite possibly might be the best game on the Super Nintendo, because it executes extremely well on all attributes of a good video game, right? The music is great, the graphics are great, the sprite work is great, the main character is well balanced, the fighting is great, you know, the level design is amazing. There are some games where the way the levels are laid out, it almost feels like the levels are either too easy to traverse, like because you know, it's a platforming game where the main character can fly or float so much that gaps in the ground don't seem almost inconsequential. And then there are some games where the level design is so hard, it's like, geez, this is like so hard to make it from one platform to the next. I think Super Metroid just does a great job of not bogging down the player with unnecessary toughness, like unnecessary difficulty. And there's a level of suspense when you play this game that's created through the atmosphere as well as the music that makes you want to come back for more. And I don't think that's just exclusive to Super Metroid. All Metroid games have that quality for the most part. I remember even playing Metroid 2, Samus Returns on the original Game Boy. I remember I used to play that game literally day and night. It's one of those games, and the backtracking in Metroid 2 on the Game Boy was much more difficult than Super Metroid because you didn't get all the extras. And original Game Boy, you really had to remember what you were doing and remember where you were going, so that like the backtracking was done all by memory. If my memory serves me correctly, I can't remember if you got a map like that in the Metroid 2 for the original Game Boy, but Super Metroid just does it on another level. I think the fact that you're able to find new attributes and power-ups and things that just give you more abilities just makes you want to explore areas to find those power-ups and see how they're able to help you navigate the levels even more. And I think this is just an extremely well done video game, even down to the label. Look at that label, man. I think it's like top tier. Look at that. Like, just so amazing. Imagine being a kid in the 90s and just seeing this. This is like top tier. So Metroid is definitely a staple in the Super Nintendo library, and any collector would need to make sure that they have a copy in their library. And you know, I remember when I first got this cart, I was really stoked. I think I picked this up as part of a trade, and I always told myself that I'm gonna complete this. So I do want to complete my copy of Super Metroid. So I'm gonna have to start looking for a box or something to complete this, because I'm a huge fan of this one, and my copy is really clean. Yeah, I have a really clean, I always forget how clean this copy is. Yeah, I need to complete this one, but I am gonna have to find the box that has the player's choice. So don't know if there are any player's choice boxes, and I don't know if the player's choice box is any different from the standard, but y'all can let me know down in the comments. All right, so I pretty much talked you through a lot of the staples. I know there's a ton of Super Nintendo games that you're all gonna leave down in the comments, like, you didn't talk about this, Y2K, you forgot this game, Y2K. But remember, this is my dream Super Nintendo collection. The last game, number 10, the 10th game that I'm going to talk about is a game obviously that's more specific to me because I am a huge fan of shoot 'em ups, and I haven't mentioned one shoot 'em up in this list yet, which is crazy. But if I had to pick one, it definitely is going to be Axay. So Axay would definitely have to be the 10th game that I would add to my startup collection for a Super Nintendo collection. Axay is a very unique shoot 'em up game in the fact that with each level you're able to unlock new weapons, a new type of basically like a space gun that you have in the game. It offers different vantage points as you travel through each level. At one point you're kind of like in this top down level where you're almost like rolling over this horizon. In other levels you're in a side scrolling format, and you know the way the music is in this game, like when you're, especially when there's a level where you're like flying through a cave, you feel like you're in a cave with the way, with the reverb that they put on the sounds and the reverb that they put in the music. It's just, everything about this game is done really well. And of course it's Konami, so what more would you expect from Konami? This was Konami's heyday, in my opinion. They were killing the game, no pun intended, back in the day. So Axay would definitely one that I would have to have in the collection. But you all let me know what you think. Did I miss anything major? Is there a game that you think should be on this list? It's the Y2K Collector. Happy hump day. Hopefully you're having a great day. I'll talk to you later. Take it easy.